Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper Pumpkin Week here on Creative Chelsey. Thanks for joining me today as I share some beautiful card ideas you can make with the April 2025 Paper Pumpkin Kit called Inked Occasions. Here is a quick peek at the original cards from the kit. If you'd like to watch me unbox the kit and create these cards or see any of my other alternatives, you can click on the playlist and I'll link it up here in the top right corner. This is the second set of alternative card ideas I will be sharing with you this week. These two cards use the coordinating Hugs Abloom Dies as accents to the beautiful blended alcohol patterns paper from the kit to create stunning cards. I love the little details on these cards and can't wait to share how I made them with you. If you are new to my channel and would like to continue to see all of my paper pumpkin alternatives, make sure to subscribe using the link in the bottom right corner. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. If you're interested in getting your own paper pumpkin subscription, please use the link in the description box below. My subscribers receive an exclusive card kit designed by me with everything they need to make 2 more beautiful cards with the stamp set and ink spot from that month's kit. We gather together once a month on Zoom to make the card and have fun together. I would love to have you join me. Make sure to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin and list me as your demonstrator or use the link below. To begin, we're going to find the card base that looks like this. It has the white openings in the middle. Go ahead and cut that right down the center at 4 1/4 inches. We're going to then use the side here. I just want to make sure we've got the right side. So this is with the fold line at the top, and the larger alcohol ink design is on the left, and then the smaller one is on the right, and you can see how I use both of those patterns there. We're going to go ahead and cut this in half at 2 3/4 inches. We're going to use the one with the larger alcohol ink blend for the Pretty in Pink card base, and we're going to use the one with the smaller blending pattern for the Fresh Freesia card base. Let's go ahead and start with that Pretty in Pink card base. And of course, the other half of that card base we're going to save for a future alternative, so don't throw that away. We're going to begin with a Pretty in Pink card base and go ahead and score that. And then we're going to splatter it with Berry Burst ink. And I've just got my Stampin' Right marker here. You could also use your ink spot. You would just get a little water mixed with your ink and splatter it with a paintbrush. So it's going to look something like that. And I wanted to play with this corner, this rounded corner from the label. And so I'm going to go ahead and round the corners of all 4 on this piece. Now, I can't remember if this corner rounder is retired or if it's still current. If it's not, you can use a circle punch to create a rounded corner. You just put it in and from the top. Let me see if I can find one, and then I'll show you really quick. So here's a circle punch. I'm not going to actually punch it, but instead of putting it through the center, you take it from the top, and then it can round your corner, okay? But if I do that, then they'll be different. Okay. So once you have that done, go ahead and add this to the center of your card base, just with some adhesive. And again, you want to put that alcohol pattern on the left side and smooth out the glue. So it'll look something like this. So next we're going to take the Hugs Abloom dies. There are 4 dies. We have this really beautiful Hugs, a great label, some leaves, and then our flower. And I'm going to show you 2 techniques you can do. Well, not really techniques. I'm going to show you just the original purpose of the die, which is creating that lined floral image there on the card. And then I'm going to show you how to get the solid image in the background. So with that die, you're going to cut out one from Gorgeous Grape and one from Berry Burst, and then two from Peach Pie. And that is going to be our centers. Okay, so I guess I am showing you a fun little technique on getting some three different layers to your flower. And I should mention before I cut these out, you'll want to add adhesive sheets to the back, especially of the die cut pieces, not the background piece, which we haven't done yet, but all these little die cut pieces. It's so much easier to add them if you've got adhesive sheet. So to do that, you're just going to cut yourself a small piece or use some leftover pieces from other projects. Remove one side and then put that sticky side on the back of your cardstock. Leave that paper backing on until after you cut it. And I'm going to do the same with these other two pieces of cardstock as well. Okay, so you're going to end up with something like this. The little pieces don't always pop out as easily when you use adhesive sheet, so it's fine if they stay there for now. We can always pull them out when we need to. For the background piece, you're going to take your die and you're going to trace it. So put it down so that the same way you would in your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, so don't flip it over. And you're just going to go ahead and take a pencil and trace around that edge. Now this edge that you're tracing is going to be larger than the die cut. And so when we cut this out, we're going to want to cut on the inside of this line here. So I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll kind of just give you an example. So let's find the right way this goes. Hold on, like that. Okay, so this will sit inside it like that. And so you can see that it will show a little bit on the outside, but we don't want that. We want it to be underneath. So when you cut this out, go ahead and cut close to the edge, but on the inside. And that is going to go as our bottom. So I'm just going to double check that everything fits nicely. Try to find the edge there. Okay, yep, I think that will be just fine. Maybe this side needs to be cut just a little smaller. Okay. So then you can take your middle piece, so this is the die cut flower piece, and go ahead and remove it from the paper backing of that adhesive sheet. And then you're going to add this. And just do your best to try and find where it's supposed to match. Okay. So just like that. I love how getting that solid background, especially in a different color, really makes that flower pop. Then you're going to take your peach pie and you're just going to remove the center. So go ahead and remove all of these little spikes that come off it. I'm just going to try to keep it in like a circular shape, but it's not like the finished shape is not a circle. So just as you're cutting them off, keep it kind of in a rounded cut line. So don't just go in there and snip them off with a straight edge, or it will kind of look a little strange. Remove the paper backing on that piece. And then I like to use my take a pick to hold it. And just make sure that the little curves go about the same direction so that you can pop it right in the middle. And that flower is done. So we're going to repeat that for our purple flower. This one is done on fresh freesia cardstock. Again, put it down just as if you were to cut it from your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and trace it along the edge. And then you're going to cut this out. Okay, so if you look at the paper that's left over, you can see how I cut it out on the inside. Then you're going to remove the paper backing and then find the shape. If you see a little bit of it coming out on the sides, it's fine. So don't stress over that too much. And then again, on that peach pie, go ahead and cut off those little lines coming out of the center. And you can see here how adding that adhesive sheet makes it much easier to add this, rather than trying to get our fingers all sticky with liquid adhesive. Okay, so our two flowers are done. Let's go ahead and do the greeting that comes from a label in the kit, and it's the one with the rounded corners. There's two rounded corners. I'm going to put it so that they're on the right, top right, bottom left, but if it gets flip-flopped, that's no big deal. This is going to get stamped with the Berry Burst ink again, and I'm using the I'm Here For You, but you could use any greeting. There it is. And that just gets stamped right in the center. Make sure to do even pressure, especially on those little stamps. And then we're going to take some baker's twine. And from yesterday's project, we separated about 20 inches of baker's twine. So I'm going to go ahead and use that piece for this. And I want to, from that 20 inches, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece that is about 4 inches long. And then I'll use the 16 inches or so that are left to make my bow. So on the back of the greeting, go ahead and add some adhesive. I'm going to use tear and tape, and this is just going to go right in the center for something for that ribbon to adhere to, because we're going to do a double faux bow. So take about that 16 inches or so, find the center, and this is going to be the top. So it really is going to go, it's going to look like I'm going backwards with it, but it's going to go fine, just like that. So an angle on the back, and then start kind of wrapping it back and forth to create that faux bow look. Oh, we'll just do a little one there, and then do another one. They can go the same way, or they can go different ways. I'm just going to adjust it slightly. You can make one a little bigger, one a little smaller. And then you're going to take that 4-inch one and lay that right in the center. And that just acts as like another little strand. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add my dimensionals to this. Along the edge are some straight sides, and I'm going to cut a straight edge here, and it will just be long enough to go behind the greeting and to go over all that baker's twine to hold it in place. just like that. Okay, that's going to go right here in this larger white area. It can come off of the center a little bit if you want. Cute little bow there. And then we'll add our flowers with some dimensionals as well. You can use the minis from the kit, or if you have any large ones. I like these little larger ones because then I only need to add one. You can place these really wherever you would like. I'm going to place one near the top, coming off that center panel onto the card base, and then one near the bottom. But I'm going to cover up just a little bit of that greeting. The label, not the greeting, but the label that the greeting is on. And my card is all done. All right, so let's go ahead and move to card number 2. And I've got some fresh freesia cardstock here for my card base. And I am going to splatter it with some gorgeous grape ink. I've got my marker here, a couple in the corners. And then we're going to stamp the butterfly image in gorgeous grape ink as well in the corners. So got my ink pad here. Do 2 up in one corner, maybe 1 or 2 down in a bottom corner. And you'll have a great texture that you can add any focal point to. I love doing splatter techniques on my card bases. So I wanted this piece to be just a little longer or wider than 2 3/4. So I cut myself a 1/2 inch strip of some silver foil. So instead of liquid glue for this, I'm going to go ahead and add it with some tear and tape just along that edge with the white. So not the edge with the colors. And I'm going to add this with maybe about 3/8 of an inch of this silver foil showing. So nice border there on the left. This is going to get added with dimensionals to the center of my card base. Let's go ahead and add this to the center. If you cover up some of those butterflies, that's okay. I love that little bit of foil there. It's really fun. Okay, so now we're going to cut out a bunch of the dies from that Hugs Abloom coordinating die set. So we've already done the flowers and I've showed you how to do that. So off camera, I went ahead and cut out the background flowers in Gorgeous Grape, Berry Burst, and Pretty in Pink. And then I've also cut out the tops. And we're not going to do the centers because we're going to do something really fun instead with the center of the flowers. Let's also cut out some of these other dies that we need. We're going to use one of the leaf dies. We're going to separate it in so that we can use it in 4 different places, or 3 different places, but the 4 leaves kind of separately. We're also going to cut out a label from Basic White, and we're going to cut out, using the adhesive sheet again, we're going to cut out the greeting hugs. So let's go ahead and cut all those things with our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and then we'll start putting this card together. Okay, so we've gone ahead and cut those out, so we're ready to start putting this card together. We do need one last thing that I just remembered, and it's this die cut here. We're going to separate these kind of taller dandelion flower type. I guess they're not the flower, there's more like the seed, but that die from the rest. And we're going to use them as a center. So let me kind of show you how I do that. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove this whole thing so that it's not super distracting. Begin near the bottom. So take your paper snips, there they are, and trace down to the bottom here and go ahead and remove those near the bottom. Okay, so you've separated that from the bottom, and then you're going to go ahead and separate it from these other plants, but you'll want to do it in a way that makes the plants still look good. So try to separate it maybe at the base of a branch or at the tip of a leaf. Okay, and this one here is the most difficult one. Let's see if I can put white behind it. Maybe you'll see it a little better, because it kind of changes the way this plant here at the bottom looks. So what I'm going to do is try to separate it here at the top of this one on the right, but this one here I can't. So I'm going to probably kind of smooth out that branch right there so that it doesn't feel like it's missing a leaf too much. Okay, I'll kind of show you what it looks like. And I can always go in there and adjust it some more if it doesn't look good to me. And then here we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to well, actually maybe I can just remove it there and keep that larger leaf. So this time I'm going to remove it from the center, just like that. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. It came from that one. But here on this side, I can't separate it, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it at the base of that stem, at the tip of this leaf here. I'll show you what that looks like. So it's going to look like that. Will I keep that small little leaf at the top? I don't know, but this is what it will look like here. So I had to remove all of those leaves at the top. And then down here at the bottom, you can go ahead and just snip these off, keeping the bottom just leaves looking natural. Okay, so this is, now we've just got this piece here. I can flip it over so you can kind of see what it looks like on the white side. And then we've got this. This we need to have a little more work done. We're going to carefully trim along these stems so that we don't see these leaves here. Just so we get some nice skinny stems. The reality is this might kind of go underneath some of our other images, so we might not really see this, but I think it's good just in case it does peek out that we don't have these little leaves on it. So this is what the final looks like. You can see that it has just some nice clean stems going down, and we need to do the same thing over here. This one, let's start with the flower itself. We're going to go ahead and just kind of finish this shape up right here. Make kind of a V-shape cut so it mimics the rest of that leaf or that kind of flower bud right there. And then clean up the edge just a little bit. Okay, so that's what that one looks like. All right, so now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and put our flowers together. So we've got adhesive sheet on the back. Go ahead and remove the backing. And you're going to add this to the color, the back that is the same color as the front. So these are more monochromatic. Our other ones were more like dark tone, light tone. And so it's fun to be able to play around and get some different looks with these flowers. When I first saw them, I thought, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to like those because it was just the outline. But after making all these alternatives, I have really enjoyed using them. And I'm excited for you to see what I do with the rest of the products in the paper pumpkin kit with the Hugs Abloom dies. Okay, so just kind of match up that shape a little bit. Try to get it to fit. So the way I like to line these up is I look for the petal. It's the biggest petal and it has like 3 little bumps at the top. And then I look for the biggest shape on my back piece, and that usually will line up pretty well with that. Okay. So I've got all 3 monochromatic flowers, And I'm going to add these behind these flowers. And these flowers here are going to act as my center flower. So you could do that with glue dots, liquid glue. I'm not going to use dimensionals as I don't want it to add, I don't want them to accidentally get stuck when going into an envelope. So I'm just going to use a glue dot here, one on the back of each. So I'm starting with the double piece, and I'm going to put the light pink one first at the lowest. Can you see how that just goes right in the middle? And then I've got my dark pink one that goes on the tallest one. And then the single one will be the purple, the gorgeous grape. Just like that. I love this little fun look. Okay. Let's go ahead and add these to our card base, and I am going to add them with dimensionals. Again, I'm going to use my large regular size dimensionals. And I'm going to put the 2 on first with the berry burst quite close to the top. And then they're all kind of touching the alcohol marker design. So there's no white space between the flowers. And then I'm going to add my gorgeous grape one, so it's kind of right below those, and it can go over into the silver just a little bit if you want. Let's go ahead and add our leaves. So I'm going to separate this into 2 sections. And then this is the one I like to keep together. They kind of go in different directions. I'm going to put some mini dimensionals on these ones. And then I'm going to take them and tuck them at the top of these 2 flowers here. Just like that. And then I've got the other 2, and I'm going to separate these. They're kind of going the same direction. And then we'll tuck those underneath our purple. Just on each side. Let's go ahead and add the label. Now we're not stamping anything on this label, so we can just add it right underneath. This is going to kind of ground the flowers, so they're just not floating in space. Go ahead and place that so you see a little bit of the silver on the left and a little bit of the pattern paper on the bottom. And then you can add hugs, and if you used your adhesive sheet, this will get added really easily. If you didn't, you'll have to sponge on some liquid glue or something. And this goes at an angle with the H almost down in that bottom corner, and then just kind of let it fall as it wants, so that way it keeps its shape. And it goes up, so the S is touching the top. And then the last thing we need to add is our little second greeting that says, "I'm here for you." And I'm going to cut the strip first and then stamp it. And I'm going to do 5/16 of an inch for the width of that strip. Yep. And then I did want to pull in a different color. We've got the berry burst in Hugs, and so I thought using gorgeous grape would be really fun for this second greeting. So I've got "I am here for you." You could use any greeting here and just stamp that right in the center of that strip, and then trim off the side. That size is going to be about 1 5/8 of an inch. And that will also get popped up with a dimensional. And again, I'm using the edge here. Right in the center. And that goes down here in the bottom, just kind of in the corner. Don't cover up the stitching, and it will go over the G and S just slightly. And your card, oh, we forgot these little details. So if you don't have a white gel pen, then your card is done. But I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of white inside each of these flowers. Now, when I originally did it, I went a little crazy and I added white into each one of the little starburst or seed pods. For this one, I wanted to see what it would look like if I toned it down a little bit and just did some little white dots inside the center. So just going around the outside edge, making some little dots like that. This gel pen that I'm using is called Jelly Roll. It's my favorite. This is a number 10, and I can include in the product listings a link to a pack of 3. It will give you 3 different sizes, a 5, an 8, and a 10. So this is the largest one. So it puts out a little bigger of a mark. So I like that. I think keeping it a little toned down isn't as distracting as having them be everywhere, but you can kind of decide for yourself which one you like best. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these 2 fabulous cards using contents from the April 2025 Paper Pumpkin Kit. If you're interested in subscribing to get your own kit, please use the link in the description box below. If you would like to see written instructions or close-up images on how I created these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.